I remember back years ago, it was 1985. I was a sophomore in high school, and my dad was moving as far as a career change from the state of Ohio to Colorado. And I was the youngest in the family by 6 years out of 4 kids. And so I was a sophomore in high school, so that meant my brother and my 2 sisters were all out of high school and adults. Some of them were married and beginning life on their own. So when it came to the move, they decided they wanted to stay behind. And I remember I cried all the way from Ohio, all the way to Colorado. And part of the reason that I was crying all that way is I was leaving my sisters behind and my family behind. And there was just that affection, that love that I had that bound me between me and my family members that I was separating with in my siblings. That's an important part of love. And then you also have the love that is found within friendships. Sometimes there are people that are lucky enough to find a friend like in the 2nd grade, and they move through 2nd grade into elementary, into junior high and high school, and they go to college and they get married, and they're able to have the same friend for years and years and years, and they are just bound together. In the Bible, there's a story of a man named David and a man named Jonathan that were very similar. They didn't meet when they were real young, more like teenagers or adults, I guess. And they bound together, and they had a love relationship as brothers, as friends, that continued for years and years and years. And then we move into romantic relationships and love and romance. And of course, the poster statement for romantic relationships is within marriage. And we find that when we're young, whenever that time starts, maybe at 8 years old, like me, when I kissed that girl on the hand, we're thinking ahead, that boy and that girl, of someday being able to meet that special someone and develop a relationship and someday get married. Well, when it comes to marriage, it seems like marriage is the culmination of all that we had dreamed about and hoped for and hungered for years. Finally, it's there. Romantic love found within marriage. And I'm fortunate to be able to have found that myself. I was married at 32 and found the love of my life, Kathy, and we've been married for 11 years now. And it's been a wonderful journey, and look forward to many more years to come in that journey. And those are the different forms of relationships in terms of the kinds of relationships. And dealing with friends and dealing with family and romantic, and also in looking at the relationships in terms of the years of life. And now we move into the mystery of love and understanding its thrill, as well as understanding its heartache. And we come to the thrill of love and relationships. Ultimately, the thrill is ultimately found within marriage, where we finally find that soulmate, that one that we feel like we were born to meet. We were born to connect with. Sometimes it's hard to explain with words, but when you find that soulmate, that connection, it's just something that you know inside that's hard to explain to other people unless they've experienced it too. The thrill of love. The thrill of love, sometimes when you walk into a room and your heart pitters and patters and your heart just wants to leap out of your body. The thrill of love when you look across the room and 2 eyes meet across the room and they're both just filled with stars. The thrill of love when you're walking hand in hand with that special someone and you truly mean it when you say, it doesn't get any better than this. And then there are those times of heartache that comes with love, when you risk love. And then in the midst of that risk, there indeed is brokenness, when a relationship ends for some reason. The heartache of love, where even in the face of death, when death might take that special friend, when death might take that special relative, or death might take that spouse. I'm reading a book right now called The 12th Angel, written by Og Mandino. And in it, it's a story of this man who lost his wife and his only son in a terrible tragedy. And he speaks of waking up in the mornings and days and weeks after the death of his wife and his son, of waking up in the mornings like he would normally do and reaching over to be able to put his hand on his wife and hold her tight, only to find that she's not there, and the pain that that brought him. There's the thrill of the mystery of love, and then in cases like that, there's the heartache of love. Love. We were born to love. We were born this way. When we find out where, and we say to ourselves, where did love come from? It takes us back to the beginning. I'm a passionate believer in Jesus Christ, and I read this book, the Bible, on a regular basis. And what this Bible tells me that I believe is that God created you and me, and He created us in His image. And what this book tells me is that God is love. There's a passage in the Bible that actually says that God is love. And then God says He made us in His image. So if we do a little bit of logical thinking, we put that together, you and me were made in God's image, and God is love. So that means you and me were made born to love. It's part of our nature to want to love. It's part of our nature to want to love a child. It's part of our nature to want, as a child, to love a mom and a dad. It's in our nature to be able to love a brother or sister, or a grandparent, or an aunt and uncle or cousin. It's in our nature to have romantic love and to love a husband or a wife, or to have our eyes look across that room and connect with that special someone. That is normal. That's the way God made us to love. God did not make us to live in isolation, all alone, God did not make us to never risk our heart for love. If we choose to live that way, we live almost with a sense of regret and with a sense of remorse because we've not lived as we were destined to live. We were born to love. Adam and Eve were God's first two humans He ever created. You and me, if we do our genealogy, ultimately it goes back to where our original mother was Eve and our original father was Adam, all of us. They had a passionate love for one another as husband and wife in that garden. And they had a love for God, and God had a love for them. As all three knew each other personally, and they walked with each other as a threesome, so to speak, in the garden of God. There was a love that was there. And when God made love to be holy and good and pure and pleasing. When God made love, He made it to be real and lasting. But something happened. When we talk about the mystery of love, there is also a curse that comes with love.